Reception analyst. I'm a sales trainer. I've sold or overseen over $100 million in sales in my 34-year career. And that's not all large ticket, it's small ticket as well. I've sold everything from soap to high-end networks to the military. So I've got a pretty diverse experience set. Today, I'm going to talk about some body language things. Lori had said that this needed to be about helping you in your sales. All of us present. Everybody here is in sales, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone presents. And what happens is, how many here have ever made a presentation to someone and everything just clicked and went right along and closed the deal? Now that may be over 3 months, 6 months, whatever your sales cycle is. But everything goes well and the deal closes. You take the same exact presentation to someone else and everything falls apart from the beginning to the end. They may yes you, which is the worst thing can happen, is they just yes you and yes you along, and then at the end they don't close. Well, one of the reasons why people don't close is because the message that you're sending with your words does not match the message you're sending with your body. If you are doing some of the things I'm going to show you today, you'll strengthen your presentation or you'll weaken it. I call it body language PIE. The PIE is an acronym for pacifiers, illustrators, and emblematic gestures. These are three of the most common gestures that we use. Is anybody familiar with those gestures? Do you know what they are? Okay, well, let's start down through body language PIE with the P. The P is for pacifiers. This is a deadly, deadly gesture that you can use whenever you're presenting. It will cause a lack of confidence. It will cause people to think that you're lying. And they may not even know that they think that you're lying or that they think that you have no confidence. But subconsciously, this is caveman stuff, they will pick it up. And they may not know why they don't like you, but they just don't like you. Has anybody ever met someone and just right off the bat, I don't like that person?
Sure.
Okay. Do you know how long it takes to make a first impression?
3 seconds.
Less than one. About a tenth of a second. And the person doesn't even have to be talking to you. When a person walks in the room, your subconscious mind will instantaneously make a judgment as to whether that person is confident, competent, honest, and all of these things that happen just that quickly. Most of the time it's wrong, but that's the way that we work. The problem is, once those decisions are made, they're hardwired into your brain, and it's very, very difficult to change that. Has anybody ever met someone that they didn't think they liked at first, but then over time they decided, I like that person? That's rewiring that first impression that you made. So pacifying gestures are, like I say, they're one of the most deadly gestures that you can use when you speak. Pacifiers are anything that you would do that, say, a parent would have done for you as a child to console you or to calm you. So, adjusting your cufflinks, patting, rubbing your hands, rubbing the back of your neck, messing with your hair, touching your face, and you really don't want to touch your face because that's a huge deception indicator. But anything that you would do to comfort yourself, people will pick that up, and you come across nervous if you do it really bad. But I've seen people where they have a speech that they use, a presentation that they use all the time. Then they insert something new into their presentation, and I can usually tell where the new part's at because they'll instantly, they'll do something with their hand, or they'll touch the sleeve. Something will happen at the new point, and so it's very easy to know once you know what to look for. So pacifiers, like I say, they cause the people to believe that you're lacking confidence. In deception analysis, that's one of the things that we look for as well. If I ask you a pertinent question, a relevant question, and you're just being normal, and then all of a sudden, then that's a big deception indicator for me. I know you've about 70% probability that you just lied to me. The next one is I, is an illustrator. Now, illustrators are incredibly powerful in your presentation. What are illustrators? They're exactly what they sound like. They are illustrations. They basically are nonverbal punctuation in your speech. So this is an illustrator, what I'm doing right now. The Clinton box is where you want to keep your hands. Anybody familiar with the Clinton box?
Yes.
You are? But when Bill Clinton was, for those who don't know, when Bill Clinton was starting out, he would have a tendency to flail about. In a room this size, his gestures would be way out here. And he had body language experts that told him, keep your hands between your shoulders and from your waist to your neck. So anytime you see him speak, unless he's making a big point, he always stays inside the clicking box of his hands. And that's where that came from. Illustrators can be anything. Like Stephen Jobs used to do an illustrator which he was holding the ball. If you ever watched a video of Stephen Jobs speak, he speaks with his hands right here, just like holding the ball. And when he moves, he'll move his hands just like he's holding the ball, or did. Other illustrators. This is not an illustrator. This is an emblematic gesture. But what else would be an illustrator? Pointing, which you never want to point like that when you're making a presentation. Pointing like that, because body language, your subconscious mind says, I'm being stabbed, so you don't ever want to point that way. Anything like 1, 2, 3 points, first point, second point, third point, illustrator. Anything that does something like that illustrates your point, makes your point more poignant, more direct, that is an illustrative gesture, and that also helps your presentation a great deal. Also, anytime you're using the gesture, you never want to put your palms down unless you're trying to hush a crowd. You want to keep your palms up. Now, you and I just talked a while ago, and you said you're a high ID personality. Mm-hmm. High Ds like to talk with their hands down because it's a power gesture, it's a control gesture, so high Ds like to do that, even this way. And I always tell guys, if you're a high D and you're talking to a woman, do not do this when you talk. Right. Because the woman will feel like she's being groped, even if she's 4 feet away from you. So don't ever do that. Then you go from the illustrators to the emblematics. Emblematic gestures. Does anybody know what an emblem is? Everybody knows what an emblem is. Okay, the flag is an emblem. Okay. Emblematic gestures are basically the same types of things. Emblems are things like that is an emblematic gesture. What does that mean? Okay. In this country, it does. Yeah. In other countries, it don't mean that. Right. So you got to know your cultural emblematic gestures, or you can have friends you don't want. Obviously, the middle finger is an emblematic gesture. We know in this culture, again, it's not in other cultures. It's a different emblem in other cultures. What are some other emblematic gestures that we do? Thumbs up, peace.
And that's different. Hang loose.
And that can be different.
Yeah, this is different in New Zealand.
So every emblematic gesture, some of them are universal, some of them are not. Like this. What does this mean?
Victory.
Victory. Okay. They did a study of children who were blind from birth, and they were in a competition, and universally, that was the symbol they made when they won. So that's a hardwired emblematic gesture, and there are a few of them. So why do I tell you these are important? When you use emblematic gestures, you add a lot of punch to your speech. Steepled hands is another gesture that's very important. You will rarely see a person lie when they steeple their hands. Almost never. That or that. But a steepled hand is a very honest, very powerful gesture. And it's like I say, that people rarely lie when they use this gesture. So you can feel pretty confident. It's a sign of confidence in what they say. Hands open. Keeping your hands up and open so that you are. Why do you keep your hands up and open?
It's an invitation.
I have no weapons. Like I say, this is caveman stuff. Yeah, so that's why. When you shake hands, how do you shake hands? Okay, about 10% stronger than the other person. Can I get you to volunteer for me for just a second? Can you come up here? I'm going to show you a little bit. This is all I know how to do with people on the handshake. And there's been a lot of stuff put out about handshakes. Now, if I'm in front of a crowd and I bring him up here, this is the optimal situation for me because I'm the president, I'm the presenter, and I'm in control of the room. So when I shake hands with him, my hand is here. I have the upper hand. Now, we shook straight up and straight down. So that's basically an equal handshake. And that's what you want most of the time. Now, there are times when you meet someone who has a power position, they have the upper hand. So I would shake hands this way with my palm up. Now, he has the upper hand. He's in control. And that also can happen when you meet somebody, especially in sales, and they want to try to get over on you. They want to be the most powerful man in the room or woman in the room. So I go this way and he traps me down. Well, if he holds that shake and I can't roll that hand, then if you watch politicians, they do this all the time because they always want to be in control. I'll grab him here. Now I have the upper hand. Now what you'll often see is he'll come up and grab the iron on me. And if you watch politicians, it's like a dance. They'll be up each other's arms trying to get the upper hand. Almost always you'll see the person that's in power, the highest power person will stand to the right so that they have the outside position with their hand. President Trump got caught on the wrong side of Kim Jong-un when they met in, where did they meet? North Korea. No,
Militarized zone.
Was it Vietnam they met in?
No. They went into the demilitarized zone.
Yeah, but the first time they met, the first summit they had. Was it South Korea?
It was South Korea. Kim
I was thinking it was
Jong-un would
Vietnam.
not go anywhere,
But anyway,
10
he got on the
steps.
wrong side.
Yeah.
President Trump got on the wrong side. And so he has an incredible handshake. And he still can take control even when he's on the wrong side, because what he does is he does this. Anytime he shakes hand with somebody, you'll see him pull that hand in. So now I've got him trapped. And then if I want to really make it miserable, I'll push back after I pull him in. And now I've come up to his weak spot. I've come up to his core. So, and that's not very comfortable, is it, whenever I'm holding my hand? You can sit down. But that's just a little something about handshakes. It's a simple body language maneuver, but it makes a lot of psychological difference to the person. If your hand is upside down and you don't want it to be upside down, then you got a problem. Now, a lot of times what you'll see people do, and if you use this as a technique, is when you meet a prospect, I'll shake their hand and I'll come in with an open hand and then I'll roll it over so that now I have control. But originally she had the upper hand, and then I just roll it over, or I'll cup her hand, and then I've got her trapped, and so then I have the upper hand. And like I say, it happens very subtly, and the person won't necessarily consciously recognize it, but it does have a psychological impact on people. Another thing that goes along with body language pie, when you're talking with someone, the body language part of it can get pretty interesting with the emblematic gestures and the things that you do. If you're talking to someone and they suddenly step back, what is that a sign of? Number one, they've either said something and lied because they held the line and stepped away from it, or they are wanting to get away. If they're on their heel, they would want to get away. If you're talking to a person and they step back on the ball of their foot, they're mad because that's the position you punch from. So so when a person backs up, it'd be nice to glance down and see if they're on the heel or on the ball of their foot. And then also, the distance away puts me in range to either hit you or kick you, either one. So the other person will subconsciously pick something up, but they just won't know what it is. So that's why it's important to learn some of the things about body language and perception analysis, personality profiling, all these things, because so much goes on more in your subconscious mind than goes on in the conscious mind. In fact, the conscious mind is very, very limited on what its capacity to do things are. Yes, it does language, it does high-end analytics, and it's very smart. It's just slow. And so your subconscious mind is about 1.5 times faster than your conscious mind. So when you're doing something, you're making a gesture before you realize that you did it. And that's another way that you can tell if a person's honest. If a person says, I am really upset about this, well, they're not, because the gesture followed the statement. If I said, I am really upset about this, now I'm honest. That's an honest gesture. Your gesture should lead your speech. Why? Now I'm telling you all this stuff about subconscious level stuff. Why is that important to know consciously? Because how many here rehearse your presentations? Okay, really good idea to rehearse your presentation. But when we present, we have a tendency to focus only on the words that we're going to use. How am I going to say this? What am I going to say? But when you rehearse your presentation, you should also watch your body language. great to stand in front of a full-length mirror and see what you're doing. If it's going to be a stand-up presentation, it's going to be sit down and watch yourself do it, videotape yourself, and then listen to it back, and watch it back. Because what you'll find is you're doing some of these gestures wrong or out of sync, and you can then rehearse the gestures so that they come in the correct way, so that you become believable and make it so that person is more acceptable to you. Does that make sense? How much time do I have left, Lauren?
You're good. You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes. Wow, I'm moving fast. Is there any questions about body language that anybody has? Yes.
So, is there a difference between how women perceive body language and how men, or is caveman universal?
Well, I mean, like the groping thing, that's pretty much what women do.
But like you here, shake my hand. So I often do this, but it's
Right.
not to get the upper hand, it's to show care and concern.
Right.
So if somebody did that to me, like what you said, giving the upper hand with her, I wouldn't interpolate that as.
It depends.
I know, but I'm just
Shake
saying.
my hand again and do that. Okay. Now, you got me pretty good. But if I come in here and do this.
Well, if you did it back to me, I don't know. Maybe I might feel.
I mean, if
yeah.
I were to shake hands and get you here,
Uh-huh.
that's different than here.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
If I'm up here, I've got you pinned, and
Right.
I've got the upper hand. This hand's in front of the other.
Mhm.
So there is a little bit of difference, but it's not so much female versus male. It's just a
Okay.
matter of pressure. If you just lightly touch the back of my hand, it's not nearly the same as if you
Right.
crank right down on the back of my hand.
Okay.
Anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Heidi and we talked about that. How do I put an analytical person at ease? I meet them, I know, it's an engineer, whatever. Or what kind of gestures could I convey? that would help?
Emblematics are good with C's because there's something tangible that they understand. Illustrators are great with them because if I'm giving you 3 points, if I do 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, that's something that's the way they process information. As far as making them at ease, a C, what speech speed does a C use? Fast or slow? Slow. Okay. Are they more introverted or extroverted?
Introvert.
Introverted, okay. So when you speak to a C, you want to slow your language down. You want to speak with authority, but speak slowly. And you want to have tons of data. And as long as you've got data to back up, C's hate eyes when they're being presented to, because eyes are everywhere and they don't ever have, it's just a good idea. This is a great idea for you. It's going to be good. I can't tell you why, it's just a good idea. But a C wants a lot of data. Now, if you go to me with a lot of data, you'll lose me in about 2 minutes because I really don't care. Give me the top line and the bottom line and leave all the fluff out of the middle. I've got other people that look at the fluff. So that when you're talking to a D, you want to be faster, poignant. They need to be in control. Even a C, you want them to feel that they're in control because that's the task side of them.
And you're talking about disc, right?
Right, yeah. Because we had talked about she was a high D, I'm a high D.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
You've never done the personality profile with this
I have
profile?
the Myers-Briggs and.
Okay, you've never done disc.
You need
though.
to do this.
Okay.
The disc. It's great.
It's called DIS.
DISC.
Just
Tony
go to
Robbins has it.
Just go to disc.com. They have a free version, and then they've got like a $40 more.
Or Tony Robbins has one for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go online and get a free one that's like, a few pages. If you go to like a DISC certified person, they'll give you one that's like 52 pages or 50 pages.
It's not that flattering, a lot of it.
Actually, it can be kind of fun
Some
because
of it.
what happens, and we were talking about it a while ago, is every time I have all of my clients that I work with one-on-one, after a couple of months, I'll require them to take a DISC profile and get the 50-page report. I will then ask them what personality they think I have after we go through it, and I explain their personality and how they. 100% of the clients that I deal with say that I have the same personality that they do.
Oh, you're good.
So you're mirroring.
And if you know the personalities, my D score is like 97, but I can become a chameleon because I understand the personalities so well. then it's just like I told you, I don't think of it so much when I'm dealing with someone as in terms of DISC. I think of it in terms of what are you feeding me, and then what do I feed back. So if you talk slow, I talk slow. If you use a lot of gestures, I use a lot of gestures. If you talk about 14 different topics within 3 seconds, then I'm going to talk about. I'm going to open up a whole bunch of conversational loops with you too, because that's the way that I processes. If you're very shy, quiet, a supportive person, when team is more important, when I don't want the spotlight type person, I know that's a high S personality, and I will do the same thing with them. So they will believe that my personality is the same as theirs, because let's face it, when you're in 97 on the D chart, nobody likes you.
Right.
The only people that like you are the other people who score 97 on the D chart. And then we'll fight, but we like each other. But as far as the personalities go in the disc profile, just very quickly, if you imagine a quadrant, okay, one corner would be the D, which is extroverted, task-oriented person.
Okay.
Other corner is I, which is extroverted, people person.
Extroverted.
Below that is the S, which is introvert, people person. Top one is extrovert, people person. Bottom is introvert, people person. And C is introverted, task-oriented. So you've got you're divided task-oriented this way, people-oriented that way, extrovert this way, introvert this way. And all of your tests, I've taken Myers-Briggs, I've taken DISC, I've taken tons of different personality profiles, and I always come out exactly the same. On Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTP, which basically is the IV personality. So that's the D or the DISC model makes it easier to quickly ascertain someone's personality, so you're not trying to come up with 4 letters. It's very difficult to do without a test. But personality, in my book, personality profiling is the first thing I mentioned as a primary key, because being able to relate to a person with their personality is the key to breaking through into the subconscious mind. If you can't match the personality, if you can't relate in a way that they process information, because they're the most important person in the room, so you need to be able to give them your information in a way that they naturally receive it. Does that make sense? Like we were talking a while ago, well, just like I said, if you give me a whole bunch of spreadsheets and pivot tables and all that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, just worry. Tell me what's going to do with my top, tell me what's going to do with my bottom. Back a long time ago, I worked for an IT company, and I was the department head, and they had us do our annual budgets. Now, does anybody ever do a budget meeting? Anybody ever done a budget meeting? Such excitement. The thing that they did is that I've got all these propeller heads, it was an IT company, and they're all sitting down there doing regressive analysis and all this stuff, and I just took a piece of paper and wrote a number on it, turned it over, and handed it to the president. He said, "What's that?" I said, "It's my budget." He said, "How did you get that?" I said, I said, "That's not a budget." I said, "It doesn't matter." I said, "You guys can do all this math and everything, and it's not going to mean any more than what I put on here. I know that if I don't do this number, you're going to fire me. So this is my number." "Well, you got to have a plan." I just got to have the number. And but that's the way I process information. Is I go for the big picture, put it down, and we'll work the details out later. So, any other questions about body language, deception analysis, personality profiling? Yeah.
I don't know if it's a question as much as it is observation. That show Shark Tank?
Mm-hmm.
So I like watching presenters because I notice that in that show, often the shark that the person really wants, they'll completely target in the speech. Consistently, they'll make sure that they talk to Lori or Damon or whoever it is in hopes of getting a deal. And it's interesting to see, if you actually analyze it, how many of them will actually close with that shark.
Right.
So I was just wondering if that is part of these people. Do you think that's something subconscious that they're doing, or it's just something that?
I would guess it's intentional.
Yeah, intentional.
Because if they're smart, they're going to do the research on the sharks.
Right.
And they probably watched the show a few times, so they're gonna go after the shark that they feel like they can most relate to, and in who does the industries that they do. Now on the other side, when you watch Shark Tank, watch the gestures of the people,
Right.
and see how many people are picking it up and rubbing their hands and all that.
Right.
They're probably not going to get a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Awesome.